Hello, my name is Nick Leeson. Unfortunately, I will always be remembered for my part in the collapse of Barings Bank in 1995. It's not something that I'm proud of. It's something that to this day is still tinged with huge embarrassment. But it's something that I've had to come to terms with over the years, along with a number of other events that have occurred in my life. Obviously, there was the losses at Barings. I went to prison in Singapore for a total of 4.5 years. I was divorced by my wife whilst I was there. And I also suffered cancer of the colon. Was operated, had an emergency operation for that, and then endured 6 months of chemotherapy whilst I was in prison in Singapore. So lots of difficult times, and we're all facing quite difficult times at the moment with the onset of the pandemic, and I think which is probably just about to enter its second year, if my memory serves me correctly. So I've been thinking back about things that have helped me during the last 30 so years since the collapse of Barings Bank. There are a few things that I learned when I was in prison in Singapore, or things that I had to focus on because I needed to cope and survive throughout that entire period. One of the things that was most important to me was learning to communicate. There wasn't really anybody that I wanted to sit down and have a conversation with whilst I was in prison in Singapore. Everybody was a triad gang member, and any sign of weakness was going to be something that was exploited. But I still needed to deal with what I was facing and what I was encountering, the emotions and the embarrassment of everything that happened during that period. So the one thing that I did was start to keep a diary, so I could put my feelings, my emotions, the things that I was experiencing onto a piece of paper and keep that as a memento or a remembrance of things that went on during that particular period, and actually start to come to terms with things that I was experiencing. I found it a really useful tool. I was somebody who was introvert. I didn't really share my experiences. I always thought that I could cope with absolutely everything that I was going to face during my lifetime. Unfortunately, I failed, or I eventually realized that wasn't the case during my time at Barings. But keeping this diary and confronting those feelings became really, really important for me. As we go through the next period of our lives, or we all go through different periods of our lives, there's going to be things that you find difficult that you can't immediately deal with. For me personally, keeping that diary is the first step to be able to communicate better. I now earn a living talking on stage in front of hundreds and sometimes thousands of people, and I'm quite comfortable with it. But that first small step was taken in prison 26, 27 years ago, when I started to keep that diary and start to confront what I was actually feeling. I would encourage anybody who's facing a difficult time in their lives at this stage to do exactly the same. If you are interested in finding out more about the way that I coped with all of those different episodes in my life, my book, Back from the Brink, Coping with Stress, is now available as an ebook.